story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. I'm going to show you a game from a guy I like a lot. He's a funny guy, one-time world champion challenger Nigel Short as white, and Colin McNab is black. Well, I'm assuming for the name Colin McNab, this is some kind of British team playoff. Can't really tell. I think it's a league that's in Great Britain. But anyway, it's the Pirc Defense, so the backyard professor like this, he just got done going over the Pirc Defense. Short is white, McNab is black. It's going to be a Pirc. Let's go through it. Queen of D2. Give you an idea. McNab is rated 2448. We'll say 2450. And Nigel is 2661. I like to see Nigel get back on the 2700 list. I think he will shortly. Knight to F6. F3, C6, Knight to E2. I know it's better to put it on than H3, and you have to. I think I want to develop the bishop first, but that's just me. E5, and then B to C3. Computer had suggested castle instead. After knight D2, E5, knight B to C3, queen E7. Castle's long and castle's short, so we're going to see how this goes. We know when they have opposite side castling what happens. Usually it's a good game. Usually a decisive game. G4, here comes white. Nigel's not wasting any time at all. B5, here goes the race for the king. Knight to G3. Giving that light squared bishop some air. You can fairly get some use out of him. E takes. Instead of knight to G3, H4 was the computer suggestion. But I think knight to G3 is just as good, if not better. E takes, bishop takes, B4. Now you'll see that a lot. This knight gets chased off, and queen side castling with the B pawn. He comes back. Now there's two choices. He could always come back to here, but where's he going to go after that? Because he can't go here and he can't go here, so that pawn kind of has him trapped. So that's the best choice. C5, hitting the bishop. Bishop E3. Now right now I've got my Fritz computer on off screen. It's a small advantage for white, third of a pawn. Knight to E8. That reminds me of somewhat of a King's Indian move. The knight comes back. Bishop. Now this is one thing, guys. I know this guy's rated over 2400. He's probably an international master. But honestly, when you go bishop H6, you don't take, for the simple reason queen will take. And now you have no dark squared bishop to chase the queen off. Computer had suggested knight, and then bishop takes, then king takes, and then knight F4. I like that a lot better for black. I just don't understand. I know these guys are international masters, but that's something you learn when you're a 1300 player. Queen takes, knight C6, H4. Excuse me. Now here's where black's first big blunder is. Now maybe he's just intimidated by Nigel, being he was played for the world championship at one time. Knight to E5, and it's about a 1.25, 1.5 advantage for white now. I think the best shot that black had was queen to E5, but after knight to E5, knight, queen to E6, bishop E2. I think maybe after queen to D8, bishop E2, A6, knight F5. You're going to see that by taking this knight and pawn takes. Leaves that as open file for the black king. After queen to e6, he's not in a very good position here. Computer suggests bishop b7, maybe because it's to connect the rooks, or maybe to hit that knight on d5. But what he does, I think, is something that you and I would do. f6. Knight to f5. And the computer can't see it off screen, but it says it's all over. G takes, G takes. Black's up a piece, but he's going to lose the game. I think maybe what he should have done instead, maybe at least to give him a chance. Queen f7, it might not change much, but knight checks, king h8, f4. It's still really bad, but at least you put up a little bit more resistance. After G takes, queen f7, H rook checks, knight g7, f4, kicking the knight. What's he going to do? And move the knight to where? And for what? King h8. It's a terrible feeling. I've been in this spot before. I know he's playing a former world championship challenger, Nigel Short, who I like a lot. But, boy, I'll tell you, getting a position like this against a good player so quickly around move 22 is just demoralizing. You might not expect to win, but you expect to put up some resistance. Pawn takes, knight e3, bishop b7. Bishop takes really isn't any good because after pawn takes, rook a to d8, rook takes, and white's up a piece. It's really that simple. Bishop to b7, bishop hits the queen, queen has to move, rook g4, knight e8. Now what you do here is white. Think of a deflection move. Rook to d7. Excellent move. Excellent move by Nigel. Deflects the queen. The queen cannot guard this now anymore. Queen takes mate. Queen takes. If the queen, where's the queen going to go? Nowhere. And that's the way it is. Give you an idea. Rook f7, rook takes, knight g7, rook takes, queen takes mate. I show this game. It wasn't the most fun game to watch in the world, but I don't get to see many Nigel Short games that are recent, and this was played on May, I believe today is the 3rd, 2014. Well, that's my game. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to show a Pirc Defense after their backyard professor did a series of games on the Pirc. And I like to show a Nigel Short game because I'm a big fan of Nigel. I like him a lot. I think he's funny. He's a great commentator. If anybody gets to watch any tournaments where Nigel is commentating, usually with Lawrence Trent from England, he's an international master, please do so. Those guys are great. They're great analyzers. Nigel's got a million funny stories. Anyway, folks, just want you to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here, and if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know.
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost a one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.